Good evening, everyone. How you doing today? I'm so glad y'all are here to join me today on My Two Cents. I am so excited because this person that I interviewed, I just ran into her at a health fair, and she turns out to be an amazing young lady who is a community builder. I mean, she didn't say that she was a community builder, but when she describes herself, she's a community builder. So it's really great that she came on to interview from Autumn here. So we're here at My Two Cents. And you know what we do at My Two Cents? We discuss the last show that was on, and the last show was Frances Harris. And she is a health navigator and a program manager, and she goes to Cornerstone Baptist Church here in Brooklyn. And she is just an amazing young lady, an amazing young lady. She um, bridges the gap between the young and the old. I mean, she does many things, but you know, a couple of the things that she does, she has workshops in church for estate planning. She has a senior talk where she has young people and old people get together. She has she talks about getting old people. Well, she actually works in getting old people on technology. She realized that there was a need for that, and she's got them on technology, which is really good. And she was a caregiver. So, and she does all of that in her church. You know, she does all of those things in her church, and it's really good to remember community and how community can help you and how churches can help you, and that's part of your community. You know, it's not just your family, it's all other things too. So you know, on Autumn is Here, if you haven't seen the show, it's okay, please go back and look at it. It's really a good show. It really is. She was open, heartfelt show. So it was really great. Hi Raven, great to see you. She says her segment was good, very inspiring. Absolutely, it really was. So if you haven't seen it on Autumn is Here, please go back to Autumn is Here and see the show. um, she is a young lady that's just very much dedicated to her community, and her church supports her, which is really good. So let's talk about some of the things that she talked about. Unfortunately, today I will be here on screen by myself because Evelyn is not feeling well. So we're just going to give a little prayer for her that she feels better. She's been down all week. So I'm hoping that she gets better, and she'll be with us next week. She's listening though. She's backstage listening. So I really appreciate it. I really appreciate that. Um, but so let's talk about some of the things that that Frances does. You know, she does um, workshops for estate planning. Now, what she does is bring them to her church, and she does it out of her church. I remember that Cornerstone is in Brooklyn. I believe it's on Madison Street in Brooklyn, Madison and Lewis. So if I say any of these things and you're interested in these things, reach out to them, and you know, find out when they have these things for the community. Estate planning is for everyone. It's not just for seniors, but it's for everyone. You know, and if your parents haven't done that yet, that's something that you should talk to them about. But she also does she does technology with the older people. And that's a big thing because, you know, like she said, during COVID, people were only doing technology. That's all they were doing. And old people were left out, you know what I mean? So um, it's okay, like that we can go forward, but we need people like us to help the older people go forward. We can't leave them behind, you know? So right now, I just want y'all to you know that she's doing all these different things in her church, but make sure you know that it's really important for these things to do, so to these things to happen. If you are someone that is senior and you're older and you live in Brooklyn, you might want to go by Cornerstone and go to one of her workshops. Hello everybody. Hi Raven. Hi Lizette. Hi Lizette. How you doing? I'm glad you're here tonight. Matter of fact, you know, I want to say a couple of more things that she does. She does a senior talk with the young people and the old people. She does that, and it's great to be able to get them involved with your older people, because you don't know in anybody's life. Maybe some people may not even have grandparents and things like that, so they don't understand it, and they don't have the respect and comfortability with them, and they all have something to share. So I just want to let everybody know, you know, if you are around people, young people, if you're a senior, share with them your stories and listen to them too. They have things to add too. So she does these talks where they just kind of freely, safely talk and um, are able to just learn about each other, and add to each other's life. So that's really good. So I just wanted to mention those things because I see that I have Francis is here now. Are you listening? Are you Francis? Are you ready? Are you able to come on screen? Um, Oh, okay. She said, all right. She's behind the scenes. Frances is there, so if you have anything or questions or anything like that, but she's behind the scenes. She is listening also. She's not ready to come on screen. So I thought I would have a partner in crime. Okay. So anyway, but that's really big for her to do things with the digital, getting seniors into the digital and technology. I mean, technology keeps growing and keeps getting faster, and more people are getting more on it. And there's new things coming, and you can't even fill out an application now. You can't even apply for services. Aging people are need to apply for services, whether it's Social Security or getting a home attendant or whatever it is. You need to know how to work a computer. She even said they didn't have emails. Some of them didn't even have emails. Now, that's a big thing because that's how we communicate now. you know, that's how we communicate now. So, it's is you know, this is the age that we're in, and we don't want to leave them behind. So it's so sweet that she does that. Um, oh, okay. Somebody said I'm not popping up on Facebook, so hopefully okay. I hope they're all online now. But thank you for letting me know that. I appreciate it. Hi, Deborah. Good evening. Good evening. Um, Also, she was a caregiver. Now, she was sharing her story about being a caregiver. And like I said, if you haven't seen it, go see it on Autumn is Here. But she was sharing her story, a very heartfelt story about being a caregiver. And one of the things before I talk about what she actually said, but you don't know when it's going to happen. You don't know. You can be a caregiver at any time. And unfortunately, her mom got ill suddenly, and she became a caregiver. So, we have to educate ourselves and prepare ourselves and learn more about our parents and stuff like that. Luckily, she was very much involved with her mom, so she knew things already. But there are so many things that we need to know, and if we are not involved with our parents, which many of us may not be, we need to be able to help them. So we need their information. We need to be involved. We need to know about different things that will help them. She was happened to be very much involved with her mom, and because of that, she was able to take care of her mom and fight for her mother. And one of the things she said, she had to fight for her mother with the nursing home and getting her the right physical therapy and things like that. You know, you would think that places that are serving you on health issues would be more compassionate and more would give you every bit of care. It doesn't necessarily mean that. You don't know who you're going to get. You don't know who you're going to get. You don't know if they had a bad day. You don't know if they even qualified. Some of these places, that's why you have to be careful. Some of these places, the people are not really qualified to handle everything, because when you go into a nursing home, people have different needs, and people are hired to take care of them, but sometimes they can't take care of all the needs. So you have to be there, you have to show up, you have to talk to the aides and things like that, and demand things for your loved ones. It's hard to do, and it's frustrating, and I get it, but we have to do it. We have to do it. So that's one of the things that you have to look out for. Another one of the things that she said, which I thought was very sweet, is that she was a primary caregiver, but her brothers were still around to help her. They weren't the ones that were fighting for her mom and stuff like that and really involved in that part, but at least they were there for her. They were there to support her. And that's something to think about. If you're out there and you're not the primary caregiver, support the primary caregiver. Be there for them, be a ear for them, do something for them, help them out. And her brothers were there in that way, and she appreciated that. One of the things she said, caregivers need caregiving. You are going through it also with your parent or your loved one, and you need somebody there. So it's good to have community like that, and have people like that are gonna still help you. They may not do everything, and don't get upset if they can't do everything, but if they're there for you, if they can do some things, let them do what they can do. Everything helps. Everything helps. Um, Lizette says also to a lot of people it's just a job and people just become a routine. Wow, wow, that's true. Sometimes people get involved and they get involved to help, but they get used to it and it becomes a routine and it's longer than you think. Sometimes it's for a long period of time and it just gets routine. And a couple of things with that. Even if it gets routine, um, and it, you feel like you just getting depressed about it, or if you're a caregiver and you're getting frustrated, stuff like that, you let somebody know. Tell one of your friends, tell your church, tell somebody, because you don't want to fall into a depression. You don't want to make the job harder, because if you're grumpy, the other person is going to be grumpy, and it's not going to be a good atmosphere and environment. So we got to make sure that that we're able to be aware of our health, our mental health. Be aware of that and know, okay, well, this has been too much for me, because sometimes you just really didn't know how long it would be or how many things would be involved. And especially as people get older, and maybe the sickness progresses and you don't realize that it's a strain on you. um, be aware of that. Think about things like that. That can happen also. Look for your support. One of the things, like she said, Cornerstone is her church, and they are really supportive of her. And one of the things she said, what is it? Oh, Nipsey Hussle said, "Don't fold when you get tested." you know Sometimes we go through, we're going to go through life, and we're going to go through different tests and things like that, and things are going to happen and challenges are going to happen. um s- you know it's going to happen. Don't fold, don't give up, don't. And the way you don't fold is you get support, whether it's from an agency, whether it's from a person, whether it's from a relative or somebody. Don't fold. Okay, don't give up, because if you don't give up, you know um it'll get better. It'll get better. Just hang in there. Hang in there. And don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. So what does it say? Your glass oh, my glass needs to be full in order to pour over to others. Your glass needs to be full in order to pour over to others. Take care of yourself. Yes, you have to be healthy. You have to be full. You have to be resilient. You have to know yourself, and take a minute for yourself and assess yourself so you can give to other people. And that in this situation of being a caregiver, then it's something that um you have to be aware of. And if you're not full, you're going to have to get full. So whatever it is that you need, you're going to have to reach for, and you're going to have to get. Okay, because you don't want to wear yourself out. You don't want to get sick. You can get physically ill. So I'm going to I see that. Hi, Francis. I think she is here. She is here and she is ready to be on screen. All right. Thank you so much. Hi. I can hear you.
Hi, how are you?
Thank you for joining us.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Oh, listen, we were just talking about, Autumn is here and your interview, and I thank you so much for giving us your interview and being so open and honest, and so many points that you gave. So, if anybody has anything to say to her or any questions or anything like that, we had some good comments though. On Autumn is here on the chat. It was just such good comments about how heartfelt um, your interview was, and how the different things like looking out for seniors and things like that you're doing. So um, tell us about some of the programs that you have. Just tell us a little bit about some of the things that you have.
Yeah, basically, and I just want to say, someone said a comment a bit ago about the workers, and I just want to say one of the things that I remember at the nursing homes was that a lot of the workers were coming from other jobs, and so a lot of times you have people that are just like overworked and basically like
Ah,
doing doubles, and so like that's something to also just like know and recognize these different workers are really overextended. And, when you're
Mm,
doing 16-hour work days, going from one job to the next, you
yeah.
don't have it in you to give it your
To get-
all, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I just remember thinking that like this industry needs such a big makeover.
Mm,
Um,
yeah. Yeah.
and it's yeah, so
Yeah.
yeah, I
Oh,
wanted to say
no,
that.
that's
But
a great point. That's a great point. We don't think about that. They're coming from other jobs and they're worn out already. So,
so worn out,
how
and
can
the
they give
shifts
to your
start at
person?
yeah, and the shifts start at like 6 a.m. and that's across the board in the medical field, but specifically the nursing homes, they're not paid very high, so they have to have more than one job, and
Mhm.
a lot of times they're just unhappy and tired, and these are
Right.
the people that are caring for our sick elderly, and so it's just kind of crazy how our society, like, that's where it's at. But
Right. Raven said, I love I love watching your story. Educators hold a special place in my heart. That's from
thank you.
Raven. Yeah. And Lizette agrees with you. She's like, that's very true about the nursing homes. And Deborah says, caregiver situations may not get better. Hmm. I think we adjust to what we have to deal with. Wow. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
that's why I talked to you, Francine, after when you came to Cornerstone. We talked about,
Hmm.
we have to start taking the power back in our communities and
Yeah.
opening our own assisted living spaces, preparing
Hmm.
for this new generation that is still independent but may need some help so that they don't have to go straight into the nursing home. And that's another reason why I really harp on technology for our aging seniors, because I feel like the longer you can stay at home is the
Mm,
better. Like, you
yeah.
don't want to go to a nursing home. And so sometimes families just can't take that on. And,
Right.
people like you, Francine, who knows about this,
Right.
I give you all my prayers and support and energy as far as like opening assisted living homes and putting that
Mhm.
on your radar, because I think our community, we really do need to take the power and make sure that we're taking care of our aging adults.
Yeah, it can be done. It's so weird how you go other places in other countries and they have different things like that, and we don't have that, and it doesn't make sense. It can be done, but you know, how I guess people go, there's not any money in it or whatever, but it can be done and it should be done. And the city and the state should be able to do that. You know what I mean? They pour into us, they put into, where they work all these years and things like that. When you work, you spend money. So you put money into the economy and then nobody takes care of you. Keisha said that's true. So, and Raven says, yes, I agree. My grandmother's aides work 12-hour shifts and sometimes work two jobs. So that means they work like 24 hours, which is crazy. But,
Mhm.
people are doing that, they do their hustle that way. And I get it. But with that, know that, because that means you're going to have to be on top of them. You know what I mean? You're going to have to be on top, and you're going to have to set a standard for them. If you have people coming into your loved one's house and they're taking care of them for 12 hours or whatever, so there's always round the clock people, you're going to have to set some standards and some rules. So this can't be like, okay, well, they have 24-hour service. I don't have anything to do but maybe visit once in a while. It can't be like that. You're going to have to set the standards, because a lot of times they change. Somebody doesn't show up, and there's a new person, and you have to have whatever signs around, or let them know the first time they're there, this is what she likes, this is what I need to do, I need you to have this clean, I need you, you know what I'm saying? You're going to have to set the standards. You can't just go away because they have services. you
Mhm.
know
True.
so but it's the things. What I love about this is that I love that there are people in our community that are doing things like you and your church and things like that. And that's what we need to do with all the stuff that's going on. We don't know if we're going to have any, um, you know, federal grants for anything anymore. You know what I'm saying? So we have to figure out a way to help our community. That's one of the things I like to say, that don't forget, with all the stuff that's going on, don't forget what you're doing is still important in your neighborhood, in your building, in your church, wherever. Keep doing those things. People, are going to still need your services. So we have to keep being motivated. And one of the things, you had said at the end, you made a nice a nice comment about church and your church, but also let us not forget our roots and where we came from, where we get our help from. We learn a lot in church. It's not just the preaching and things like that, but it's the community. And they allow you to grow in that way also. So when you leave church, you take it outside of church and you're able to help your community. You have that heart, you have that workmanship. You learn a lot in church. So I know the pandemic, a lot of people don't go to church, and we do virtual church and things like that, but we need to somehow get more involved in our churches. So you have made that statement.
Yeah, you were asking me about the programs that we do at Cornerstone.
Yeah.
So third Sundays, like I said, I try to do our health events on third Sundays. We do different things throughout the month, but because third Sunday is our communion Sunday, I try to make sure that I have things going on. Because, one thing that I want to say about the church that's so different is that people used to all live on the block and in the neighborhood. And so it was convenient to come to church Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, because you're just walking up the block. And so that has shifted a lot. Our neighborhood, our, bedside has changed so much. And so a lot of people just can't come they're coming from all over. And so Sundays is when I try to do my programming. And right now, we just launched our diabetes management workshops,
Oh,
which
wow.
we did on Sunday. And it was probably one of the most impactful workshops that I've done at my church so far, because it's just so much false information out there and misinformation. And even talking to, we have she's a certified nutritionist or dietitian. I'm sorry, can't even remember, because I know there's a difference between the two, but she specializes in diabetes and diabetes management. And she was just saying that, like, every single person, if they're diagnosed with diabetes, she wouldn't be able to treat them all the same, because we're all so different. And a lot of times we hear these generic things like, you can't eat this and you can't do that and you can't do this. And that may be true for somebody, person A, but it won't be true for me because of this, and this. And so it's so important that we start getting in the driver's seat of our health. And so that's what all my workshops are really about, is just empowering people so that they can ask the right questions, they can seek the right resources, seek the right communities, the right groups. A lot of times just knowledge is power. And so just trying to give people as much knowledge as possible, and just, try to figure out different ways to just support community around that.
Yeah. We have to work together. We can't forget that some of the things that we got now is from us working together. From the community just getting together, doing what they know to do, what we need. We know our community. We know our community better than anybody else. So we know what we need. And there are things out here, and there are places out here that we don't even know that have they have support for us. So we have to keep looking for things, and as we learn, just give it to our community, and things like that. I think, who was saying, somebody's okay, I'm trying to get, it's popping up here. Are these programs after service?
Yep, we do them right after service.
Okay. You only do it on the third Sunday, or you do?
We do different things throughout, but I try to consistently do third Sunday because that's when everybody comes to church for communion. And I try to make sure that people, like, have something consistently that they can look forward to. So we do things on different Sundays, but third Sunday is, when we just try to be consistent with something.
Okay. 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 So tell us a little bit about, I know we had spoken about it, but just briefly, a little bit about the senior talk.
Yeah, so our senior talk, it started out as I had a list of deliverables to teach the seniors just how to access the technology a little bit better. And, from it, I realized it's very difficult to just try to come in and tell people who know so much about so many other things, but to try to tell them about this one particular thing that you are an expert at over them, you know? And so I realized that there has to be more of an exchange with my
Mhm.
relationship with them. And during the time, I just happened to have some interns who, for lack of, I won't say I wasn't reaching them, but I just was realizing that I needed some support in reaching them. Like
Mhm.
they were listening to me, but they weren't hearing me.
Right.
And you know, it just kind of happened organically because I wanted my high school seniors to help me with my seniors with technology, but I knew I just couldn't bring them in and have them helping them, like, you know. And
Right.
so we started with these just like circle talks, and out of my interns and my seniors, like it was the most worthwhile thing that came out of like their experiences with me. And we would start the conversation with just like, what was the healthiest thing that you did today, as just a basis for everyone to go around and talk health. And sometimes I would have a question that I would
Mhm.
pose, but other times the conversation kind of just would go its own way. And it was just a generational exchange. Like
Yeah.
we talked about so many different things during these conversations. I mean,
Did you
and
learn anything? Did you learn anything?
yeah, every single day, I love it's funny because my mom used to work in nursing homes and I didn't understand why, but these people have so much knowledge. People that are older people just are like living history books. They're just,
Mhm.
living resources, and so a lot of times you don't even realize who these people are. They come in and they're playing their cards but these women were nurses, the first Black nurses in their hospitals, and,
Mhm.
just have experienced so much resilience and perseverance. And, they have so much to learn from. And I remember one time I was having my own personal friend issues, and I came in, I brought it to the group, and the group just gave it back to me so good. Like
Oh,
it
okay.
was just two friends weren't speaking, and I was like, "What do you guys think?" And and
They gave
I
their
got to hear
opinion.
from the
Yeah.
young people who are, they're new to life, so it's
Right.
like they
Right.
don't have all the heaviness. But then you have the seniors who have seen it all,
Uh-huh.
and
An
so
experience. Yeah. Yeah.
I was always just, leaving with a new perspective for
Okay.
sure. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. So listen, if y'all haven't seen Autumn is Here, please check it out. Check out the show. You can look at it anytime. On YouTube, or you can listen to it on Spotify or Apple, anything like that. I really appreciate it. Does anybody have any questions for Francis? Lizette said wisdom. Yes, wisdom. It is amazing how much wisdom that older people have because they've lived. They lived, and we want to get young people to appreciate that. You know what I mean? You want them to appreciate that. Deborah says generational exchange is great. The elders have to get comfortable with you before learning new tasks. Yeah, yeah, because sometimes they're a little resistant. They're a little
Yeah.
resistant,
Which makes sense.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yeah, it may like, one of the seniors, she really gave me a lot of perspective. She was like, I've been going to the same doctor for 40 years. And then during the pandemic, I go in and they tell me I can't sign in without using my phone. And I've never used my phone to sign in before, but now all of a sudden. And so it just makes you realize, like,
Yeah.
just how it's like, why would I be resistant? Well, I'm resistant because all of a sudden you're changing what
Yeah.
I've been doing for all this time. And so, and just kind of like hearing their perspective, you understand why they're resistant too. And so I
Yeah.
think,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah, absolutely. I definitely understand that because a lot of times we don't think about them. When things happen, we don't think about them. Everybody was trying to do everything, and they weren't thinking about the older people, unless they had someone in your family and you would think about them. But overall, people were in nursing homes, people were sick, people were, what I'm saying, they were living alone. What do they do? So that the COVID situation was really crazy, and I'm sure it was even worse if you were a senior and you were by yourself and stuff like that. And I'm sure it puts a lot of pressure on even community groups like churches and stuff like that. They want to take care of their seniors and you can't reach them or things like that. So that was great. But thank you again. Thank you again for coming on, and thank you again for all the information that you gave us. And keep doing what you're doing. You're doing some great programs, and I know you're going to do some more. And I peeped that you're a DJ too, huh?
Yeah.
Doc, it was a DJ Franchella.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So she's a DJ too. So
Yeah.
I don't know how you get all this in, but
I haven't been DJing much lately, but I've been DJing for probably like the last 12 years. So
wow. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. Awesome. So thank you so much for tuning in. And I thank you everybody for coming in and listening to the show this evening. Please check out Autumn is Here. Check out Francis's interview and just let us know how you feel. And then share it. Please share and please subscribe. We need you to subscribe because we need more shows like this, and we need to keep giving out community information. Okay. Thank you all. I really appreciate it. All right. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.